It's the RicoVibes Video Podcast. This is the Selector's Corner. And from the Highlander to the Matrixx. I like the names. My special guest today, SuperPEC. What's up?
Yeah, I'm well. How you doing, my
Pretty
brother?
good, man. How's it going with you?
Everything's good. Really blessed, you know.
Man. Talk a little bit about how you got into the business. Because before you go, let me just tell you. When I lived in New York, there's about maybe 4 sounds that I paid attention to in Atlanta. It was King Eternity, King AP, I think it was Godfather, and Highlanda Sound.
All right.
And before social media, you guys were way ahead of the curve because you were marketing yourself in a different way. You had your own website and all those things.
Right.
So how did you get into the business and how did you get in that direction?
Well, just love of music to start off. Went to high school in Brooklyn, New York, Sheepshead Bay High.
Okay.
You know, after school, if we weren't at football practice, soccer practice, we were playing music, you know. So big up to all my Bridget did Chronic Disco.
Wow.
And I was just hanging out, and it's the first time actually touching the 45s and things, and just hanging out, not in the business yet, but that was how the love started. You know?
What's your background? Because some people say you're Guyanese, some people say you're Jamaican. Which one is it? Both?
I'm both.
You're both.
I'm both. I got both passports.
A citizen of both countries. That's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
My parents are from Guyana. They were born there. They got married in Jamaica, started their family there. So I was born in Jamaica with Guyanese parents. So, I'm a GTRD.
That's different. That's different. Wow. So who were some of your early influences in terms of artists and sound men and stuff like that?
Definitely in the 90s, Addies being a Brooklyn youth, all the Brooklyn sounds. You know, that's time when you had the real summer parties and the hooky parties and the block parties and you know what I mean? And it was live and direct. So as a teen, that energy was just very, exhilarating, and you wanted to be involved, around it, And then of course you used to get in the cassettes from Stone Love, BS Odyssey, Metro Media, Jam Rock, all the, Bodyguard, the songs of that era that were really doing it in the 90s,
Would you say you gravitated more towards juggling, or was it clashing out the gates?
No, definitely. We loved the Clash. Right. I had all the Clash tapes. Didn't miss a Clash. Right. But juggling was the thing. It was about the party vibes and just having fun and things. So
Gotcha. What in terms of Highlander? What was your? You guys were in the sounding for a while. I mean, what was your direction then?
So moving to Atlanta, here my brother and I went to Morehouse, and while at Morehouse, wanting to further the what became a dream of playing sound and playing out, and in Atlanta the vibe was different. It wasn't like a New York vibe, like a Brooklyn vibe. So we thought there was a space that we could fill.
What year was this?
That would have been like 95, 96.
Wow.
Yeah,
so you guys were one of the first.
Yeah, that's when we were arriving, and then by the time I would say Highlander played its first gig in '99.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's a long time ago. Still.
Yeah,
so that was a duplex days and.
Actually, Jaguars. We never actually played in Seoul. That burned down just before we touched, ground. But Prestige. Boy, there was a lot of Peacock even from back then. There was a lot of different spots. Wow. Sometimes the same addresses, right? But different.
So when did you get into the clash? Because I know Highlander has clashed at times.
Highlander was in 2 or 3 45 clashes, right? And that was, like I said, we had the love of Clash and wanted to test, the waters and step out there. The first one was something called the Atlanta Cup Clash. Okay. Jap Prince and Trends, I think, were the guys that really organized that. But it was King AP, Highlander, and Unity Sound. And at those times, it would have been the 3 songs that would have had the most crowd pull, and had so. And that was at Duplex, and that was, some people are, boy, uptown thing, and it's different, this and that and that and that. But I think at that point, clashes weren't really going on a regular basis, so we had a great turnout, good vibes. AP won.
So AP was winning even from back then.
AP was winning even back then.
Who played the sound then?
It was IZ. And Jinx, who was playing the sound. Depp wasn't on the sound as yet. Excuse me, Randy Fire.
Randy Fire.
I'm taking it all the way
I still
back
call him Depp. I forget to call him Depp. But Randy Fire wasn't on the sound.
Yeah, we won't call him Randolph on air.
Right. Wow. So let's fast forward to Matrixx. Well, I think there was a stop before Matrixx as well.
Before Matrixx, a little bit after Highlanda and I parted ways, I was just doing Archangel SuperPEC, for a brief moment there. Okay. And then went into a total different market, which I still continue in that lane. But 2 years ago, just conversations, met Father Indian, through a friend, and we just reasoning, talking about music. There wasn't any sound talk or anything. And it was just, we connected in terms of a musical philosophy and how felt music should be played, and and then he started after that to just say, oh, I've got this song, Matrixx Supreme. So I would say maybe a month after that, I got a link and said, hey, would you be interested? Because at this time I was considering really pushing, or working my way to really pushing back out on the reggae scene anyway. So it all made sense. And over the last 2 years now, representing Matrixx Supreme here in Atlanta.
But let's back up a bit. Obviously, Khalil Wonder is your brother. What happened with that dynamics?
We started the sound with a very clear mission. Did up the business plan and the whole thing. It was very targeted, like you said, with the marketing and all of that. And when, I guess, creatively, it starts to branch off of that mission. Because one of the things that I would like to see Highlander do was to build to a caliber of sound to be able to take on clashes and, explore the full gamut of, our entertainment business, as a sound. So, Khalil decided he didn't want to do parties anymore. Like he didn't like the music that was being played or being made at a certain point in time. And our love has always been the roots and the foundation of the thing. It was one of the things that actually put us on immediately, because we were there doing the early warm before the song that's on the flyers to do the early warm. So it's the promoters and the club owners, the manager, whoever is there, and they're hearing these young youths and they say, "What? Studio One?" And we're doing a proper we're on the tapes, right? We have to do it a certain way and things. And so they were just impressed that these youths are playing this kind of music, in a part, and that's what instantly gave us a lot of things. Weber, big up yourself. Precise, definitely so instrumental. He was the one who said, y'all don't be the typical Jamaican selectors in terms of style of play. The DJing element was a stressor for him, clean transitions and blending the music and playing more in that style to keep the energy going during the party and stuff. So from start, that was it. And we had the boot camp days, when the one piece of turntable and mixer with the bleeding crossfader and things. So
we all go through that.
But it was an advantage to learn on that though because now with everything that up on our, if something happens, you still can do what you need to do.
Now, in terms of Matrixx, I've seen you guys are now in Class Series. What is the goalpost for the sound, and what's the goalpost for PEC personally?
With the sound, it is to establish the name and the brand internationally as a high caliber Jamaican entertainment sound system. So if you want a party, we got the party vibes for you. If it's a sound clash that makes sense, then it's that. But that's the full thing of the brand. Myself, I have a whole lot of interest. dabbling in a lot of things, both in the entertainment sphere and education sphere, and have a concept in place to kind of meld the two and have more experiential learning. You know, so basically, you know, using game format and music to teach on different subjects. You know, stuff that will keep kids attention span. You know,
because attention span is like very small nowadays.
Exactly. Yeah. But just like you'd say, how come you know that song so good, but you don't know you so well, all right. So the music, it helps it easier to retain and catch it. So present things more in that format. So that's something I'm working on there. I am blessed to be booked by Atlanta Fever, who do all my private event bookings for me. So that's a lot of weddings, corporate events, bar mitzvahs. They're strong in that scene, so we get a lot of bookings through there.
Good.
I'd say probably in the last 7 years, I've done almost 300 events in that market. And, you know, just blessed to be, you know, booked a couple of years out in advance and that kind of stuff there, you know. It's really opened me up to a whole different market. I'm able to play a wider variety of music, you know, and really show the talent that I have and the ability to connect with people. You know, the thing about when you're doing those special events too, you know, there's that guest of honor, it's their birthday or their wedding or things. And at the end of the night when they're just so happy, you know, they're pleased, and that how, you know, their whole family was able to celebrate with them, and it was just, you know, that means something. You know what I mean? And so I'm able to definitely get my thrill from seeing that through the music, you know. And it's the same thing. There's nothing like a big forward in a dance, you know what I
mean? From one end of the spectrum to the other.
Right.
You know? But you've been, I mean, I could call you Foundation because you've been here obviously from 1995, playing sound from 99. What are the major changes you've seen in the industry in Atlanta?
Everything has changed. Everything's changed. When clubs could stay open till 4 a.m., it was a very different dynamic in terms of the party atmosphere, you know. There was a big transition where a lot of clubs closed. A lot of the very big name brand clubs for Atlanta closed. The 112s, the original SOs, and a lot of clubs moved around and all this stuff because the customers, the patrons did not change in their format. So people were still coming out late. You had to stop selling alcohol, I think, at 2:30.
Is that a Caribbean thing, or is that the American, when you go to the American market?
No, Americans tend to definitely they're coming out earlier.
Right.
However, the whole dynamic of, I've got that extra hour down the end, you know, enough people didn't transition to say, all right, let me get out earlier, you know, and at that time they were making you stop selling, you know, we were doing 4 major weekly events in the main Atlanta market, you know. So when that changed around, it was a major thing. And you see, you know, how people party changed. Dance floors have gotten smaller. You know, you've got more lounges now, where
more hookah lounges.
It's not about the dance floor anymore. You know, it's not about the party. It's about selling sections and selling your bottles. So I've seen the real I'm just let loose, I have fun kind of party vibes kind of wane. Especially on the dance hall scene or reggae scene. Soca parties now, because of the music, which is just party and good energy and fun and things, has now changed. And that has also changed with, there's much more Trinis here than there were before. Much more Haitians, much more, you know, the entire Caribbean, the Africans, So Atlanta in itself has a different demographic. You know, more things have been introduced because of other cultures to the Atlanta party scene, you know, and so it's way different. How you have to approach marketing is different than you know, how we did it back then. There we were guerrilla in the streets, you know, like Highlander was on the road, you know. We promoted hard. We didn't keep souvenirs. Literally, you know, the day of an event, we go back around to every store. If there's still a flyer there, we're taking up the flyer. It have to reach somebody's hand before the doors open tonight. You know, now with the social media, It's different. We were kind of on the cutting edge with the internet and
you were one of the first, I think, that really utilized the internet the way you did. You guys, Trends, did it as well. So.
Definitely. Changes Ponline was the first Atlantic Caribbean website. They were up for about 6 months and went down. Then Highlander.com was launched. And then for about the next 3 or 4 years, we were the portal to the Atlanta entertainment scene. Wow. I think maybe people had their MySpaces and Black Planets or that things back then. Yeah. But in terms of things, so we did the pictures, what RicoVibes is doing now, David Driveway in terms of a portal so people can see the scene. Even parties that we weren't on or playing, we would go and still do that. So I guess that's how Rico could know, what's going on in Atlanta.
I paid attention. So, I was actually proud when you guys decided to do your show on the Flavor Radio because, I've been following your careers for so long. I was like, I was proud. Like, Highlander is on my radio.
No, it was an honor. Of course, we done the Natural Vibes brand from New York as well. So it was a good situation because once again, you were bringing something to the scene. Right. And it was the way you were doing it. There were other Caribbean stations prior, but you were doing a very business oriented. It made sense with what we were doing, and we enjoyed that experience. Dancehall Now, Reggae Vault Classics, and classic shows. In fact, on one of the Reggae Vault Classics, had the esteemed honor and privilege to interview you, Roy.
You did?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you have a recording?
It's somewhere between you and Khalil on your own service, I think. But that was just the great. So for him to be honored, recently. Is huge, and it just brought back that thing of having that conversation with him, and just the wealth of knowledge and being a trailblazer. These are the men I look up to and idolize in the business. I asked him, say, everybody was a singer, right? Have a beat and you sing. Why you decide to just chant and chop it up and he said. Because that's what I wanted to do.
See, that's the thing. That's one of the reasons why I love this job and I started to do the podcast is because we don't have enough coverage and footage of these guys. When you look back and you look at the Coxsone and those guys, there's not enough in the vault, so to speak, of where they're coming from to teach the guys nowadays. Yeah, and that's and I don't blame the nowadays producers or artists or whatever because they don't have that grooming school and they don't have that knowledge of before. Some of them go out and seek it, but most of them don't.
Well, the thing is, it's need. See, back then, you had a studio. Not everybody could afford to have a studio, so that was the studio. Correct. So to get into the studio, you had to then go through that process, because they weren't going to waste their time and their money with you in the booth and you singing off key or camping. So to get there, you had to. You had to be on now you have your laptop and your program. You are now your own studio. So you now don't have to go through that process and you're doing it on your own. And if your friends say, yo, it wicked, it's going on the road, And so, one of the major things now is also just access to music. I remember when it was Rebel Music, Unity, and Four Seasons, where you could buy a record here in Atlanta. Now, everybody can download a song. Now, only a certain amount of copies of that record are even going to reach to the 3 stores. So with all the songs here, right, only certain people are going to have that record. So not everybody was playing the same music because not everybody had the same music. Big songs had to connect and make sure that they got what they needed to have and play. And so that in itself differentiated the songs. Now everybody download the same songs.
And play the same songs. It's annoying.
So it's annoying. And that too is the school that you would have been groomed through. On songs, when you just came into the song, you were lifting the box, or you're watching the others work, and there's a grooming process to how they introduce you into the sound and things. Now, once again, straight access, and you're looking at the superstars. And I understand it. You see what Matt Toronto, he said, yeah, I can do that too. You know? But where the talent piece comes in is he's able to do it and it works and it's fun and creative, entertaining. You do it, you're just talking too much. You're not connecting with the, really connecting with the crowd. You know, you're saying all the same things, but for some reason, it just don't. Right.
Now, let me ask you, you got the Clash business, Iris and Chin, the major Clash promoters. Yeah. They're planning on finishing with World Clash as of next year. Okay. You do both, of course. Obviously, you're juggling sound in your Clash sound, but you're also in the Clash arena. Mm-hmm. So when you're looking at that now, where do you go? Because that was pretty much the goalpost for most sounds. Okay, I want to go to World Clash, I want to go to US Rumble. Mm-hmm. What is the goalpost now once they're done with it?
I think one of the reasons, Irish and Chin are having to make that change is it's no longer maybe seen as that pinnacle. Gotcha. Audience turnout has diminished. Right. So the profitability of it, which also says the Clash market is changing. Correct. And it's ready and for a new thing. Right. Matrixx Supreme is in the place where we're building to be ready for that new thing and being positioned.
You don't know what it is yet.
It's going to emerge. There's some really good Clash series that have been going on. The 1, 2, 3 Better Than, I think, is now 14 years. I think you see, and I don't think Irish and Chin aren't done with the game. They're very creative, and things. So they kind of revolutionized the thing once. They're not out and done.
No, I didn't say they're out and done. I'm just talking about the Clash. This is the Clash arena. Yeah. Because again, some people hate them, some people love them. Mm-hmm. But hate them or love them, they really put the Clash market on the map worldwide.
Yes, indeed.
Worldwide.
Yes,
and they're considered the premier Clash promoters worldwide. So, when you look at that, and if you're from a small city, primarily in terms of Clash market like Atlanta, one of the reasons why I did this Set It Off series is because I wanted to elevate the Clash series, the Clash market here. Mm-hmm. But in order to do that, you have to have a goalpost. You have to have some place to go. Right. So my question is now, aside from bragging rights, where do you go? Yeah.
Or maybe this is that period that of, the cycle, right. And we go back around to the period where there's not that thing, and like it was in the early 90s, where now sounds, there's more 1v1 clashes, instead of the shorter rounds and microwave clash, if you will, not that there's anything wrong with, because my thing is, it's a contest, right? Mm-hmm. So, however you decide the rules for this contest, cool. We'll work within those parameters and show you we're bad. Right. If it's like this, we work within these parameters. Right. So that part doesn't bother me. I know a lot of the veterans really don't like short rounds.
Or 45s.
Well, and that's another thing that I don't get. So here's the thing. This how the songs that couldn't keep up trick you, right? 45s always played in the dance. Always played in Clash back in the days. It was a part of it because, once again, if I have this new press and you don't have it, I can drop this play and you can't play it back, right? So 45s are always there. But it was the songs who couldn't get those exclusives who say, yo, 45 shop lock, because the 45s was killing them. And now it came down to their advantage, which was the dub box, because they just had money. Right. And that's not necessarily the talent to use the 45s and other songs. Wow. So that's how the business got flipped around. And so you also have to kind of be careful, because every generation has what they think is, well, that's just how it's supposed to be, because there's one time too, you couldn't even play dubs. If you were a dub playing sound, you're a disco.
You're right.
You had to have artists on your song.
Yeah, you're right.
That was a hardcore song.
That was the real class.
Wow. So then a song come along and I don't have no artist. You have to have dub play. You have to, and so it started. Yeah. Wow. So yeah, man.
One of the first times I was introduced to this artist, you were the one, which is Stylo G, that introduced me to his music. How did you guys make that connection in the first place? Because you were telling me about him before anybody knew about him.
So, Father Indian is based in UK. Okay. And he, Stylo, and Gappy Ranks have a long history from them was, teenage years, and Gappy them coming up from, on the street corner kind of DJing from there. So, the link is very strong. Also, Father Indian's family basically manages Stylo.
Okay. So you must have the most Stylo G dubs in Atlanta.
Boy,
I'm calling you out.
I don't do the crystal ball thing. I don't know what I hope everybody been voicing. Yo, the artist bad. You're better.
He is.
You're better. I've been voicing. But yeah, we have some songs. Okay. Yeah. If you forward on the Royal, you'll hear songs, because that's another thing. We don't, in our style of play, you're gonna hear dubplate.
Which you should. If you voice them, you should play them.
You're gonna hear dubplate. Right. So people, and we do it in a way people move right through the party is all in the vibe. So man.
Before you go, there's so many sounds in Atlanta. There's so many clash sounds. There's so many juggling sounds. Who is the ultimate sound that Matrixx wants to buck up and say, okay, this will be the ultimate test for us as a clash sound?
In Atlanta?
In Atlanta. And then we're going to talk about the world in a minute.
Test for us. Well, I have to give props where props are due, right? For me, being a veteran in the game, doing this for a little minute, when I see somebody who has clashed 30, 40 times, right, which is more than anybody else in Atlanta, I've got to say hats off to that individual. Gotcha. And that would be Eternity.
Okay.
And
Eternity.
Right? As rightfully, with the amount of clashes I've done and what he's done, I can't really even say that. Big song that.
Gotcha. So that would be that would be the one that you want to say, okay, if we can topple King Eternity, then we've arrived, so to speak, in Atlanta.
For Atlanta, I think it's fair to say a lot of people outside of Atlanta would look towards Atlanta and say King Eternity is the song for Atlanta. So if you want to be in that conversation, and then that is kind of thing. Big up to Ruff and Range and the whole crew. I was very fortunate to be here when they were based, solely here, and I was me and my brother were there, 10 minutes after 10 o'clock, and watched John Wayne warm up a dance with Eternity on several occasions, and wow. The catalog of music.
The catalog, I haven't heard those songs in a minute. So I don't even know if they still got them. If they, I don't know. But how about the world in terms of outside of Atlanta? Who would you say you would be gunning for?
Boy, I don't know if gunning is the thing. The thing is, we're going to step out and present us, right, on a level. If anybody feels threatened by that and want to step up, then we'll let them know what the situation is. There's a lot of songs that I rate out there. One of the things that I think makes me dangerous in the song world is I do respect the songs that anybody that I'm facing. Like, you know what I mean? So, because song clash is one of those things, man. The momentum can change in a moment. Any given night. You can, so. It's not an easy game, and so big up to all the warriors, everybody who steps on the battlefield, but there's some, for me, it's more in the foundation lane though. Like, I'd want to be able to step up and like a Tony Screw, and really play some music, Radigan lane, really, Waggy T.
Yes.
Like, there's just some. So those kind of dances where even being an opponent, you're enjoying it just as much, you know, just by hearing certain tunes and seeing, have we voiced on that caliber and can we get there, you know, to stand up with those big men? Then I think you can say you're doing something.
Matrixx has arrived.
You're doing something.
Who's your favorite, I would say, what's your favorite dub right now in your box?
Boy. There is a Morgan Heritage that...
That's my sound, but that's my
Light Up the World.
Okay.
Yeah, off the Abracadabra album, Grammy-winning album.
Yes.
It's the whole group, and the guest, and the guest,
and the guest.
It's the full song. It's the full song. It's just a beautiful song.
Okay.
That just popped right up to the off the line, but there's some really nice music in Matrixx box. Yeah.
Well, you know what, folks? It's the RicoVibes video podcast in the Selector's Corner today. PEC, Matrixx Sound. You know, you got a world of knowledge, man. You know, so in about a year or so, we're going to talk again because I know you're going to have more to talk about.
Looking forward to it. You
Absolutely.
know, looking forward to it. And thank you for inviting me to to have the conversation, man. You know, there's a lot of history. It's an important thing that you're doing, like you mentioned, because it's in our natural heritage to document our stuff, and we're slipping with that, and you know we need to make sure we're doing these things again. So you're playing an important role for the culture as a whole,
and it needs to be us documenting us. Right. You know, no offense to folks coming in from the outside world, but us documenting us is very important.
Yeah, you gotta be able to tell your own stories.
Absolutely,
you know that's the only way that you're gonna make sure your true message gets out there.
There you go.
Yeah, I
appreciate you, man.
Thank you, brother. All right.
We'll be right back.